My friends and I used to ding-dong ditch random houses in our old neighborhood for fun. There was this one house in specific that we used to do often, and we harassed more than the other houses. We have probably hit this house over 100 times in only a 2-year time span alone. Some nights we would hit the same house 3 or 4 times, sometimes even 5 or more in a single night. It was the perfect house to ding-dong ditch because of the way the house and the property was set up. It was on the corner of 2 different streets, and if you were facing the house, there were tall trees on the left side of the driveway that we could easily run behind before anyone would catch us, let alone see us at all. It was a Saturday night in the summer. A couple of friends and I met up and snuck out of the house after all of our parents were asleep. We would all smoke and drink together, all while causing havoc throughout the neighborhood. Usually we wouldn't be able to meet up until at least 11 p.m., sometimes later. On our way to the house that was only a short walk away, down a couple streets, there were 4 of us, and we were all trying to think of new ways to ding-dong ditch the house. Usually only 1 or 2 of us would knock on the door, and the other would ring the doorbell a good 5 times, and then sprint to our hiding spot, while the other 2 would wait for us to get back. We would all pretty much take turns, but this time Chandler had a good idea. His idea was that we all go up there at the same time and knock on different areas of the house. I got the door and the doorbell, while Chandler got the front 2 windows, and the other 2 went to the side of the house and both knocked on a window as well. We all banged on it at least 5 times each. It was way louder than usual, especially with all 4 of us doing it at the same time. We all ran as fast as we could to our spot, and of course, the man didn't get to the door in time. We were already gone. We could see him though. Every time he walked out, we could just barely see him through the neighbor's trees, but he couldn't see us. We could even see him sitting in the living room watching TV most of the time, and we would still ding-dong ditch the house, even though he was clearly sitting right there in the living room. He was an older guy, maybe mid-50s and relatively fit, I assumed. He didn't catch us for years, and still to this day, I don't know how he hadn't caught one of us sooner, but I don't know. Beats me. I also don't think he ever called the police. And if he did, the cops never found us either. We would literally do this back to back for up to 2 hours sometimes, with maybe 5 to 10 minutes to spare between each time. So skip forward a couple weeks later, the last time we ever dared to ding-dong ditch his house ever again, and for good reason. It was another normal night for us. You know, being mischievous, angsty teens, we were on our way to ding-dong ditch the corner house again, like we did practically every weekend. When we got there, we noticed there were signs everywhere in his yard, and on some of the trees, and even on his house. There were at least 10 of them, maybe more. They all said no trespassing, beware of dog, keep out, you know, that sort of thing. And then we noticed that he legit had tripwires surrounding his whole entire house and even his driveway. The last thing we noticed was that he had multiple cameras outside, pointing at a few different locations on his property. We clearly weren't thinking straight, doing it so many times in a row, especially at the same time of night almost every time. I'm pretty sure we just enjoyed the thrill of it, to be completely honest. But the thing is, we were definitely predictable, meaning I'm sure he knew the general area of time that we would be showing up, because it was almost always anywhere from 10:30 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. I'm not sure if he was waiting by the door this night or watching the cameras, or if he just heard us being loud, or whatever exactly happened, but the first time he rang his doorbell that night, all 4 of us decided to bang on the door as hard as we could, and at the same time, in the same exact spot. Well, he opened the door almost immediately, and he tried to grab me as I was closest to him, but luckily he missed when he swatted my arm. We all took off, running separate ways, trying to get out of there as fast as we could. My friend Zach tripped over one of the wires, but Ethan, Chandler, and I got away. Just a moment after we thought we were in the clear, we all heard screaming. That's when we turned around and quit running. We all looked at each other, and then we knew we lost Zach. We all panicked and ran back immediately. I don't even really like to think or even talk about what this man was doing to Zach, but he was absolutely wailing on him. It was one punch after another. We sort of stopped in fear for just a second, but then I screamed at him, "Hey man, let him go or you're going to have to deal with us." Us three versus him, I was thinking. He didn't stand a chance. As soon as he saw us, he ran back inside. We grabbed Zach and pulled him off to the side, as he was bleeding really bad, and he could barely talk to us. We took him home, and he told his parents everything. He might have skewed the truth a bit, but he told them he was with all of us, and that we all snuck out. And I'm pretty sure he even told them how we were ding-dong ditching, and a man came out and beat him up, and that we came back to his rescue. Couldn't understand why he wouldn't just say he got jumped by someone while walking alone or something, because we were never allowed to hang out after that again. His parents wouldn't let him hang out with any of us after that, especially me, I guess. Apparently they think I'm a bad influence. We still play together on PlayStation Network all the time, and I don't think our parents know about that, but he regrets telling his parents, I think. He's my best friend, and so it hurt me deeply that we couldn't hang out anymore. We've both been saving up money at our jobs for over a year now, so when we both turn 18, we're moving into our own apartment together as roommates. We're all really not as bad of kids as you think, and we definitely don't do any crazy stuff like that anymore. We definitely learned our lesson here, and we can all admit how foolish we were. A few months ago, I had two of my friends over, and it was the same average weekend that we would usually have. We played video games, played basketball outside, jumped on the trampoline, and even went swimming. We were getting bored though, and towards the end of the night, we were looking for something to do. Tom mentioned briefly that we should sneak out. I wasn't opposed to it, but Robert was. He said he didn't want to and that it was a dumb idea. We ended up convincing Robert that it would be fun and that we should totally do it. He reluctantly agreed, but that was all we needed. We waited until I knew for sure that my parents were asleep before we snuck out. Although I knew we probably could have left earlier because they never in a million years would expect me to do something like sneak out. I'm an all straight A student. I have never been in trouble at all, and generally I'm a good kid. My parents think very highly of me, and I'm pretty sure something like me sneaking out has never even crossed their mind. But still, we just waited to be sure. When it came around time to finally sneak out, we had to be very quiet, obviously. I didn't even want my parents to think about how we were still awake, so that way they couldn't even entertain the idea about us sneaking out or anything like that. If we didn't make any noise, they probably would just think we were asleep. So we snuck out of the back door successfully without making too much noise. Hey, what the hell do you suppose we are going to do out here anyways? Robert asked. I sat there quietly trying to think of what to say, but me and Tommy already knew that we wanted to ding-dong ditch some houses because we already talked about it previously with each other. That's when Tom yelped it out. We're going to knock on people's front door and then run away and hide before they even knew what hit them. No we're not, Robert said. Then he looked at me, probably hoping I was going to shut him down. Yeah, that's what we are going to do. Now if you want to be a wimp, you can go inside and wait for us. But if you're not a chicken, you should come with us, I said. I was a little harsh on him, but I didn't want him to ruin our fun. He ended up coming with us, even though he probably dreaded the idea completely. Before we took off though, I had a brilliant idea. I remembered my parents had some real small firecrackers in the garage, so I rushed in there and grabbed them real quick, as quietly as I could. And then I grabbed a candle lighter from inside. I went back outside and I showed them what I had, and they were pleasantly surprised. Even Robert was intrigued. So we ran around ringing doorbells to help warm us up and get us ready for the real thing, which was to light the firecrackers up in the middle of the street and to be as loud as possible. Our plan was to light them up in the road and then run into the woods right after, so we could hide when the cops came. So that's what we did. After we lit one of the firecrackers, we stayed hidden in the woods nearby for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. But we very quickly grew bored of that, so we continued ringing doorbells and running away. Then Tom thought of something hilarious. He said we should go into this specific backyard and light up 2 different firecrackers at the same time. We had to jump over this pretty tall fence though first. Robert struggled greatly as he wasn't as athletic as us, so we had to help him. But we all finally made it over the fence. 3, 2, 1. I counted down and I lit both of them up at the same time, while trying to be as speedy as possible as I could about it. And then I saw a dog. It was a big Great Dane. Run, I yelled. The dog started barking and chasing after us. Tom and I cleared the fence fairly quick, but Robert was struggling again. He jumped up, and as the dog was closing in on him, the dog bit his leg up pretty bad. Tom and I were pulling both of Robert's arms as hard as we could until we finally got him over the fence. He was much heavier than us, so as he dropped over the fence, he fell on us and took me down with him. Robert was crying at this point because of how bad his leg was hurting. But we had to get going because the sound of both of those firecrackers were extremely loud, and I knew someone would be coming out very soon to try and find us. We had to help him walk a little bit until he could on his own. We made our way around the house and started heading back towards my place. But as soon as we crossed the street, we saw a cop in his car driving towards us. "Oh crap," I said. We all started running in different directions. I ran home, and eventually Tom made it to my house as well without getting caught. I asked if he knew where Robert was, and he told me he was with the officer and that he got caught. Robert never ended up snitching on us, and he told the police that we all snuck out, but he didn't tell them our names or where we were or any of that. The officer took him home, which was only a neighborhood away, less than a mile. And they talked to his parents and told them what they knew. I don't think his parents told on us either, which was quite strange. Robert said that his mom refused to tell the police which house we were at. She reassured them that she would reach out to my parents and would make sure we all got in big trouble at home. But she never told my parents. Robert's mom only lets us hang out at their house now, which kind of sucks, but it's better than nothing. And no, we haven't snuck out since then, and I don't think we will anytime soon. My friend Marcus and I were hanging out at my house. He didn't like staying the night anywhere because he would get homesick. I didn't quite understand his anxiety back then, but I never got upset at him about it. So we would always just stay the night at his house. My family was having a 4th of July party though, so he stayed over a lot later this night than he usually would. Everyone started coming over around 6 o'clock, and we were all just hanging out by the fire for a bit. While my family was catching up, Marcus and I were out running around being kids, riding our bikes, playing catch, and just in general being silly, crazy kids. It was getting dark outside, but Marcus and I wanted to go on a walk in the neighborhood. My mom said we could, but we had to be back by a certain time. We had to be back by 10 o'clock, which gave us about an hour and a half to do whatever we wanted. There was this tall trail in my neighborhood that led into a wooded area that I've never explored before. I've always wanted to, but honestly I was always too scared to go by myself. The main reason being, there was a sign that said private property and no trespassing. We hesitated, but we decided to explore it a bit. Nobody saw us go back there as far as I was concerned, and plus it was probably an old sign, and I thought it was pretty much a guarantee that no one would find us and that we wouldn't get caught. So that meant we wouldn't get in trouble, and that's what mattered the most to us. Even though we should have been more worried about safety than anything, I just don't think we expected anything like what happened to happen. Especially not to us. I mean, you always hear crazy stories, but you never expect those crazy things to happen to you. As we got deeper into the trail, it got darker, and the little light that we had coming from the subdivision streetlights were completely cut off at this point. I took out my phone and I used it as a flashlight. It wasn't much help, but it was certainly much better than no light at all. This way we could at least see what was in front of us. After a little longer of walking, we came across this pretty beat up cabin, which looked like it was either abandoned or hadn't been occupied in years. Well, it turns out that couldn't have been further from the truth. I was kind of spooked out by the creepy looking cabin, but Marcus thought it was all fun and games. He went up to the door and knocked on it. "See? No one's here," he said. "No need to be scared, come on." Then he tried to open the door, but it was locked, which either meant that someone was inside or that whoever owns it really doesn't want anyone going near it. He started banging on the door harder. "Come on, man, open up. I just want to take a look," he jokingly said. I think he was just messing with me, because if he thought there was someone in there, he probably wouldn't be doing all this. We started walking a whole different way. We were going deeper into the woods, but as we were walking, we heard a light knocking sound, which sounded like it came from the cabin. "What the?" I said. "Did you hear that?" "Yes, I did. What the heck was that?" Marcus asked. "Your best guess is as good as mine, dude. Don't look at me," I said. All we knew was that it sounded like it came from the cabin. We turned back around to have a quick look at the cabin again, as quietly as possible, while trying to keep our distance, and we were staring directly at it. Only a few seconds later, we saw a shadow behind the window. It had curtains in front of it, but you could see a very faint shadow that was just barely visible. I wasn't sure if our minds were playing tricks on us or not, but I was almost certain that I would have noticed that shadow the first time had it been there, when we were standing right in front of it the first time. There was a man inside, and we had to find that out the hard way. He slowly started moving the curtains over and started knocking on the window. He peeked only his head out from behind the curtains and just stood there staring at us with this very creepy looking face. It was quite disturbing. It looked like he had a mask on, but it was too dark to tell. He just had this very creepy looking smile, I remember. And then he waved at us for a few seconds. Only a matter of seconds after that, he disappeared from the window and opened the door. He started running at us, and we booked it, back the way we came from. Luckily, we kept our distance the second time we looked at the cabin when we first heard the knocking noise, so we had an advantage to get away. He started throwing rocks at us, and he missed every single time. Then he started screaming at us and said if we ever came back that he would kill us. Luckily, we were faster than him though, and luckily he missed with the rocks that he threw at us. I never looked back once when we ran. We ran all the way home, and we couldn't figure out if we should tell my mom or not, but we ended up not telling her because we didn't want to get in more trouble. We were already in enough trouble as it was because we were 20 minutes past the curfew she gave us. I don't even go towards that part of my subdivision now, just because of how much it scared me. I don't even like walking around or riding my bike at all in the neighborhood, point blank, period. And the only time I'll do these sort of things nowadays is if I have someone with me. I don't know what I would do if I ran into him while alone.